Hi, hello, year 9. Um, is welcome to our video lesson. Okay, so before the lesson, please get your pens and notebook ready for the lesson. During the video, you might ask to write something on the notebook, or you need to do some calculations. Okay, I'm going to give you some time to think about uh, what you need to understand, and so that's very important for you to participate actively during the video, not just watch it. Okay, let's start. Okay, our first lesson is about types of data. Okay, we are going to revise mean, median, mode, and range. Okay, and so most of the content you should have learned in year 8 or year 7, all right? But there are a few things I would really like to remind you for the rest of the course, all right? First, we need to understand what do we mean by statistics. So because the whole chapter is called statistics and probability, you need to understand what's statistics. Alright, so statistics is the collection and analysis of data. Alright, so here's the keywords. Okay. In order to respond to a question. Alright, okay, so it's about the collection and analysis of data. Okay, so we are going to focus on the keyword data here. Okay, so data is something that we're going to collect, and then after collection we need to analyze them. All right, so what do we mean by data? Data could be anything. All right, for example, it could be in a questionnaire that asks you about number of phone calls you receive each day. It could be a questionnaire about the grade you get in your math and other subjects. Okay, so we need to understand what types of data are we going to collect. Okay, so to start with, there are two major types of data. One is what we call qualitative, okay, the other is quantitative. Okay, possibly you would be more familiar with the word quality, right? The quality. Okay, so this word is from what we derived from the word quality, and this is pretty much from the word quantity. Okay, and okay, quality normally in our daily life means how good and or how bad is something, right? And quantity is about how many or how much of something. So quantitative data means a data which can be recorded by numbers. So that's why we have another name for it as numerical data. Okay, for quality, normally when we say, okay, so this, for example, this veggie has very good quality, or the quality of the fish today is not that good, is quite bad, things like this. So that means quality is about sometimes about ranking, sometimes is about the nature of the things, right? So quality can't be registered as numbers, but quantity can, right? So basically, you can think of if data that can be represented by numbers, then we call them quantitative data or numerical data. Otherwise, we call them qualitative or categorical data. All right, okay, that's the first part of it. And under qualitative data, you can further divide this into two major types. One is nominal, the other is ordinal. Nominal, it just comes from the word name. Okay, so it's the names of something or the types of something, right? Ordinal, it comes from the word order. Okay, so basically for qualitative data, sometimes we refer to the types of the things, the names of the things, but sometimes we refer to the order of some types of description or rank of description. Okay, so let's see if I give you more examples in the other table. Okay, so qualitative data that consists of names of description rather than numbers. Okay. Okay, so nominal data is about name, so it involves descriptions. For example, eye color. Okay, color of eyes. Okay, car make. So car maker, that means the brand of the car. Okay, types of the pets. So cats, dog, fish, whatever. Okay, so this kind of data, color of the eye, car make, types of pets, these things, they are just names of things. There's no ranking, no high, no. We're not going to say blue is better than green. That's quite subjective, isn't it? And also types of pets, there's no order, like cat is better than dog. Okay, so these are just names, they don't have order, and so these are what we call nominal data. Okay, they are just descriptions or the names or types of the things, right? On the other hand, we'll have ordinal data. Remember that the word ordinal comes from order. So for this type of data, you can see some sort of ordering or ranking. For example, when you are asked about the opinion, for example, how good is a math video, you might say, if that's an opinion question, you can say the question is the math video is very good, and you could strongly disagree or you could strongly agree. So that's a ranking, that's an order of your opinion from strongly disagree to strongly agree. Okay, so this type of thing, because that's an order of the degree of different the degree of your answer. So that's what we call an ordinal answer, ordinal data, right? Or quality of your work. Normally in your homework, if you finish your homework beautifully, then we say, okay, that's excellent. And if you just do a decent job, it could be satisfactory, it could be just fair. Okay, right? So that's quality of the work. Okay, right? So that's what we call order or rank. All right. Okay. So that's under qualitative data. All right. So how about quantitative data? So quantitative data is about the data of numbers. But for numbers, there are two types also. Okay, the first type is what we call discrete. So discrete means for each data there must be a distinct values. Okay, so between those values there's no other values. So these are what we call discrete values. They could be just a set of integers or could be some decimal numbers, but between the decimal number there's no other decimal numbers, right? Okay, may involve counting. Okay, so it's normally something to do, lots of time is something to do with counting, right? Shoot size 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, but we don't have size between 7 and 7.5, right? So if your foot size is between 7 and 7.5, sorry, we don't have 7/4. So you have to choose whether you would like to have 7 or 7.5. All right. So these data are distinct because there are limited number of size to select, and also there's no other sizes between two available sizes, right? Okay, so number of children in a family. In family, there could be no children at all, 1 or 2 or 3, but you won't see any family with 1.5 children, right? It's just not possible to define what do we mean by 1.5 children in a family, all right? Okay, so that's what we call discrete numbers or discrete numerical data. And the opposite of discrete data is continuous data. Okay, so continuous data means data can take on any possible value within a range. Okay, for example, your height. Okay, your height could be theoretically could be any values. All right, between, for example, 1.5 meter to 2.5 meter. It could be any values between them. So, and also the time should be continuous as well. All right. So because between 1 past 12 and 2 past 12, there are infinitely many instances between the two specific time. All right. Mass, things like this, all kinds of these measurements. Okay, they are natural. Their nature suggests that they should have a continuous measurement. Okay, so let's have an overview of all the data. Okay, so we have qualitative data, quantitative data. Under qualitative data, you will have nominal data, ordinal data. Okay, under quantitative data, you will have discrete data and continuous data. Okay, so the first task in our classwork, you need to classify the following data, whether they are categorical or numerical, or whether they are qualitative or quantitative. Right? So, for example, favorite sports. Watch. So what are you going to answer if it's about the sport? Okay, it could be rugby, could be footy, could be tennis. Okay, so these things cannot be numbered, right? So they should be categorical or qualitative. Okay, so let's just copy and paste. It would be easier for me. Right, so the answer for the first one is qualitative. How about the second one? Quantity of book. So what do we mean by quantity of book? Carry in the port of a year 9 student. Okay, quantity here means number. Okay, number of book. Okay, number of book. Okay, because this is number, of course, this should be numerical or quantitative. Alright. Is that alright? Okay. So next one, cars passing Welcome Street each day. Cars, okay. So this question is a bit tricky because you might think it's number of cars, but if that's number of cars, it should the question should be number of cars passing Welcome Street each day, but the question just means cars. Okay, so cars, so that different things you could treat as data. For example, you might say the maker of the car, the brand of the car, okay, the types of the car, whether they are sedans or they are four-wheel drives, things like this. All right. Okay, so. And also you might talk about the color of the cars, right? Okay, so all these things should be the types of description for the car, not the number of cars, right? So it should be qualitative. Okay, eye color. Okay, eye color. Of course, it must be qualitative, it can't be numbered, right? Okay. Right. So against qualitative. Okay. Right. So that's our first question. Second one is more difficult, right? So you have you need to state whether it's qualitative, and if that's qualitative, you need to talk about whether it's nominal or ordinal. Okay, so the question is like, if that's qualitative, you need to mention whether it's nominal or ordinal. Okay, on the other hand, if that's quantitative, you need to mention whether it's continuous or discrete. Okay, so let's first, so you need to determine whether it's qualitative, quantitative, or quantitative first, and then you go further to see under each major category the more details subcategories. Right, income of a senior. Okay, income. Okay, the keyword is income. So income can be numbered, right? So it's the amount of money. Okay, so as long as it can be numbered, it should be numerical. So it should be quantitative, right? So first, we're pretty sure it should be quantitative, but quantitative. And how about continuous or discrete? Okay, so normally when we are paid, we pay in terms of dollars, right? So possibly you might go to cents, but still, if the amount of money is like 10,055 cents, and you can't go further, right? So it should be what? Continuous or discrete. Okay, money normally, for money, or normally we call discrete. Okay, because that's a small unit of money in our system. Okay, for example, for Aussie dollars, it should be the smallest unit should be cents, right? Okay, so it's discrete and quantitative. Type of transport. Okay, all right. Okay, types of transport. As long as it's called types, okay, so it should be categorical. It's about the category of the things. Like you would say, okay, I drive a car, okay, or I take the train, or I walk by foot. All right, so there are different types of transport, but they can't be numbered, so they are not numerical. So first of all, they must be quantitative. Okay, but it's not finished here, because okay, so they are quantitative, but how about under quantitative, are they nominal or ordinal? Okay, remember nominal just names of things. Ordinal, you can do a ranking or ordering. Okay, so obvious is it's impossible to order types of the car, but you can just give them different types, different names, right? So it should be nominal. It's about the names of things, right? Should be nominal. Okay. So the subcategory is nominal here. Okay, so possibly I need to create a bit space here. Yeah, not enough space. Okay. All right. Okay. Attendance at school each day. So what do we mean by attendance? That means number of students, okay, going to school, attend the school each day. So it's about numbers, right? So it should be a quantitative. It's about number of students, all right? And number of students must be integer, and integer must be discrete data, right? And hair color, okay, hair color must be what? Quantitative, okay. And under quantitative, is it nominal or ordinal, or we can't rank the color of the hair? You might have your own preference, but generally it's subjective, personal rankings, not an objective ranking. Okay, mass. All right. Easter eggs. Okay, mass must be numbers, right? So it should be quantitative. Okay, and also we know that for all the things you can measure by some device, for example by ruler, by balance, it should be continuous. All right. Okay, so let's look here. Students' behavior reports. So in a behavior report, what kind of grade you are going to use? Normally, when we describe someone as well behaved, we use like A, B, things like this, right? Or in some report, you might write excellence, all right, well done, and fair. Okay, rooms of improvement. Okay, all these things, there's a ranking, but they are not numbered, right? So these are what we call qualitative. Okay, but it should be ordinal this time because there's a ranking of the behavior. All right. Oh, good. So that's pretty much for the first part of our video. Okay, so you might take a break for like 5 minutes, and then we come back. We are going into our second part of our video. Okay, let's continue. All right, so second part is about how could we find some measures of the statistics we've collected. For example, if you want to see the average of your data, okay, so there are different types of average in statistics. So the first one is the most common one, that we add all the data and we just find the so-called mean. We add all the data and we divide by n. Okay, sorry, that's a bit small here. So let's magnify. Okay, so it's the things here, right? Okay, so you see, so this formula, how could we use this formula? You should see there's a symbol. There's like this is what we call summation symbol. So for the summation symbol means add up all the data. So you add up all the data divided by n. Okay, so that's not quite unfamiliar for you guys, right? So you just add all the data and you divide by the number of data. Okay, so that's how we calculate our average marks for a particular subject. All right. Okay, so let me just give you a very quick example, right? Okay, for example, here we got number of phone calls received in weekdays. Okay, for Tommy. Okay, so Tommy receives 2 phone calls on Monday, 3 on Tuesday, and so on, as listed in the table. All right, how could we find the mean? Okay, so according to our definition of the mean, we use this symbol. That X just means the data. You put a bar in front, above it, on top of it. That means the average of all the data. That's just the symbol you need to remember, okay? And then we use another symbol. That means add up all the data, x divided by n. So that's just definition, nothing new. And you need to do what? You need to add all the data. So what are the data here? Number of phone calls, 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 plus 8. That makes sense? Divided by how many of data? There are 5 weekdays, so divided by 5. Okay, so and then you will have the average number or the mean of number of phone calls received by Tommy during the weekdays. Alright, so what number are you going to have? That's 20 divided by 5. That should be 4, alright? Okay, so you might say in average, Tommy receives 4 phone calls during the weekdays. Okay, so of course, that's for just representation of the center of the data. Sometimes less than 4, because for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they are less than 4, and sometimes greater than 4 on Friday. Okay, so that's what we call mean. Okay, so the mean of the data can somehow tell us in average what's the data, how many phone calls we receive each day, right? But that's another way to find the center of data. That's what we call median. Okay, median is another measure trying to get the so-called average of the data, right? So for the median, that's what we call, you are going to find the middle score, the middle data, right? How can we find the middle data? That's a formula, okay? So normally we use the formula. If there are n data, n plus 1 divided by 2, you are going to find which data it is. So normally we use that formula, n plus 1 divided by 2, okay? And that's th. That means the position of the data. So that's not the data itself. That doesn't mean the data is n plus 1 over 2. That just tells you, okay, the position of the data. Okay, that tells you the location or the position of data. The location of the data, right? So which data it is n plus 1 divided by 2 data, right? Okay, so alright, so for median, you are going to find the middle data. To find the middle data, that means you need to do a ordering. So the first step to find median is to put data into an order manner. For example, you put them into ascending order. Ascending order. So what are the ascending order? Here, all data are already in ascending order, 2, 3, 3, 4, 8. Okay, so that's good. We don't need to do anything. And you need to find the middle data, right? Of course, there are only 5 data, so it's quite simple to see. This one is the middle data. And you might also use the above formula, 5 plus 1 over 2. That's the third data, right? So the third data is the middle data. So that means we got the third data, and which is the median. And so the median in this case is 3. All right? Okay. So you see, mean and median, are they the same? No, they are not the same. So that's why we need different measures of the so-called average or the center of the data. Okay, right? So you can say both of them represent some aspect of the data, some aspect of the center of the data, but none of them is totally representative, right? Okay, good. And that's last way to represent the data, which is what we call most frequent data. That's what we call mode. Okay, most frequent. Okay, so you need to look for the data which appears most most of the times, right? So you see 2 is 2 a mode? No, 2 only appears once, and 3 appears twice. Okay, 4 appears once, 8 appears once. Okay, so mole should be the most frequent data, the most frequent data, the most frequent one, the most frequent data, which is mode, is 3. Okay, so when you see for Tommy's data, the mean is 4, median is 3, mode is 3. Okay, all right. Okay, so possibly 3 is a better representation of the data because you got 2 out of 3 measures, which tells you the both are 3. Okay, right. Just make sure the color is consistent. All right. Okay, let's see. And another one we need to learn now is the spread, measure of spread. So that means how much scattering the data are. Okay, so the greater the spread, that means the data are not concentrated on certain values. Okay, they are spread out. Okay, so measure of spread, there are different measures to find the spread. One is what we call range. Okay, so we are not going to find interquartile range for this lesson. We only need to learn range. Okay, so the definition of range is quite simple. Just use maximum score or maximum data minus take away minimum data, right? Okay, and of course there are others. We only learned a few of them. Alright, so how could we find the range in this case? Can we locate the maximum data? Okay, for range, what's our maximum data? So our maximum data should be 8, alright, and your minimum data is what we call 2. Okay, so range is maximum data minus minimum data. We just use 8 take 2 will be 6. Okay, so that's one measure of the spread. Okay, right. Okay, so that's basically 4 things we need to understand how to calculate. Okay, so why do we need to learn all sorts of these things? Let's compare another similar set of data. It's also about number of phone calls received in weekdays, but this is for another person called Jimmy. Okay, so number of phone calls during weekdays for Jimmy is 36452. Okay, so how could we calculate the mean? Remember, the way to calculate mean is always sum of the all data divided by number of data, right? The sum of all data is 3 plus 6 plus 4 plus 5 plus 2 divided by 5. Okay, so in this case, all right, so it's still 4. Okay, so you see Jimmy's and Tom's, both of them have the same mean of data. So you could say both of them receive in average 4 calls per day during the weekdays, right? But how about the medium? Are their medium also the same? Okay, for medium, remember you need to find out the ascending order first. Ascending order. So you need to rearrange the data in ascending order. For Tommy's data, you don't need to rearrange them. They are already in ascending order. But for Jimmy's, they are not. Okay, so the smallest data to be 2, which is on Friday, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so why do we need to rearrange the data in ascending order? Because we need to spot the middle data. Okay, you need to find the middle data, but before you find the middle data, the data must be in ascending order. Okay, So the middle data, in this case, there are five data. So the middle data should be, again, should be 4, right? Again, you can use that formula, which is what we call 5 plus 1 over 2 data. Okay, so that's third data, right? So that's third data. So third data is the middle data. So 3 is not the answer, but that's 3 means third data, not that it doesn't mean medium is 3, all right? It just means the medium is at third location, okay, in ascending order. Okay, so the medium in this case is 4. Okay, right? Okay, so you see, okay, in this case, when you compare the data of Tommy's and Jimmy's, you see that Jimmy will have the medium, which is the same as mean, but for Tommy, the medium is less than mean. Okay, so that you see that's the two data. They have different nature, right? Okay, and how about the mode? Okay, for Jimmy's data, do we have a most frequent data? Each data only appears once, so that's no mode because there isn't a particular data which appear more than once. Okay, so that's no mode. Okay, right. So when you compare two sets of data for central measurement, okay, so what's your conclusion for the center of data? For Tommy's data, possibly you would say, okay, the center of data is more close to 3 because you got 2, 3, 1, 4. Okay, but for Jimmy's data, the center should be 4 because 2 out of 3 measurements are both 4 for mean and median, right? Okay, and that's no mode. Okay, so you see, even though they have some similarity in terms of centers for both sets of data, they are not entirely the same. That's why we need more than one measure to find the so-called center of the data. All right. How about the range? Okay, remember range. We are going to find the maximum data. Okay, and you are going to find the minimum data. Okay, the maximum data is 6, minimum is 2, so range 6 minus 2, just 4. Okay, right. Okay, so what conclusion do you have if you compare the two sets of data? Okay, for the range, you say that's the Tommy's data have a greater range. Okay, so that means Tommy's data is less centralized than Jimmy's. Okay, Jimmy's data is more centralized than Tommy's. Okay, so that's what we call spread of data. Okay, the greater the spread, that means less the degree of centralized it is. All right, so there are two examples. I tried to convince you that we need more than one measures, and each measure have their own definition and their utility. All right. Okay, let's do some practice, which are the question in your handouts. Of course, we can't do all of them, but we are going to do some of them, right? So calculate the statistic measure. So you are going to find out mole median range. Okay, let's find mean first. Mean, that's what we're going to do, is to add up all the data. All right. Okay. 15 plus 19 plus 14 plus 18 plus 17 plus 11 plus 13 plus 15 plus 13. Okay, and you are going to divide by how many of them? The 9 data, right? Okay. Okay, so you might use your calculator for that. Okay, so the mean will be 15. Okay, what's medium then? Okay, for medium, you have to do a rearrangement first. So you have to put things into ascending order. So ascending order is the smallest number should be, okay, let's copy here and it's easier for us to see if we miss something. Okay, so that's our original set of number, and you need to rearrange them into the ascending order. Okay, so let's see, the smallest should be 11, so we cross out 11, and 13 we cross out 113, another 13 we cross out this, 14, okay, there's only 114. Okay, 15 cross out this, another 15 cross out this, 7, okay, 18, oh sorry, run out of space, 19, right, sorry. Okay, so there are 9 of them. Alright, okay, so what are the middle? Okay, alright, so let's try to find the location because there are 9 of them, there are too many. Alright, location of medium is okay, so there are 9 data, m plus 1. Okay, so let me write m plus 1 divided by 2 data. Okay, so it should be 9 plus 1 divided by 2. Okay, so 10 divided 5th data. So you can't say medium's 5 because there's no such number 5. Okay, but it's what we call location. Location means the position or the order of the data which will give you medium. That's the 5th one. So where is the 5th one? Okay, so medium is the 5th data, and the 5th data is 1, so that's first, right? That's first, and that's second, that's third, that's fourth, that's 5th. Okay, so the 5th data is actually 15, so medium is 15. Okay, so you see medium and mean, they are quite close, so that's very natural. Okay, normally mean and medium, they are quite close, but they are not essentially the same. Sometimes they are different. Right? Okay, so last one, we're going to do mode. Modes, do you remember the definition? Mode is what's the most frequent data. Okay, the most frequent data. Okay, which is the most frequent data? Okay, let's try to see. Oh, sorry. Let's try to see the data again here. Okay, let's put data here. Okay, so that's just for a reference. So which one's the most frequent data? Okay, you see there are 213. All right, and others only appears once. Okay, so the only 15 appears twice as well. Okay, so you got 13 appear twice, and also you got 15 appear twice, and others only appears once. Right? So the most frequent data, that 2 of them, it could be, which is 13 or 15. So there are 2 modes. Okay, so it could be you could have 2 modes, or you could have just 1 mode, like what we have done before here, or you could have no mode. Remember that? Tommy's call, you got 1 mode, that's 3, and Jimmy's call, you got no mode. Okay, for this question, you got 2 modes. All right. And how about the range? All right, so range is about to find the maximum take away minimum. So that's maximum take away minimum. Okay, remember the maximum data should be 19 and the minimum data should be 11. Okay, so you will get 8. All right, okay, all good. Okay, so let's do one last example here. Okay, so let's see, for this set of data, how many of data? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are 10 data, right? All right. Okay, so let's do mean for n. Okay, you need to add all of them. And you need to divide that by 10, right? Okay, so you will have 4.9. Okay, so that's mean. Okay. Right, so how about medium? Okay, medium, you need to do a rearrangement first. All right. Okay, let's copy here. Okay, possibly I might need to give you some time to work on the medium. You might pause the video now to try to do it by yourself. Okay, how could you find the medium? Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, so let me give you some time to work on it. All right. Okay. Possibly 5 minutes. Okay, you might pause the video, try to spend 5 minutes to work on medium, mode, and range. Okay. Okay, let's see what you have. Are you all right with medium and mode? Okay, let's see. For medium, you need to do the rearrangement first. Okay, so you need to put number into ascending order. Okay, so ascending order, start with 2 and 3 is okay, and then there's 4. Okay, there's no 5, so you should have 6. Okay, and 2, 7, 1, 8. Okay, are there 10 of them? Yes. Okay, so ascending order. So what would be your medium? So to find the medium, you need to find the middle one, right? But there are 10 of them, so you better use your formula. Okay, so the location of medium is what we call 10 plus 1 divided by 2. So okay, so it's very interesting because 5.5. Okay, so where is 5.5? Okay, so because we don't have such a position called 5.5, the position of 5.5, there's no such position, right? So that actually means 5th data and 6th data, right? Okay, so medium would be 5th data plus 6th data and divided by 2. Okay, be careful about this. Sometimes if you see the position 5.5, that means you need to find the 5th data and the 6th data. Where is the 5th data? Okay, 5th data is 4. That's 5th. whereas sixth data, so that's 6. Okay, so your medium would be the fifth data plus sixth data, okay, divided by 2, so that's 5. Okay, so you see mean for this set of data 4.9 and mediums 5, though they are close but they are not equal, right? And the method here to find the medium is quite new because there are even number of data. So after you find the location, use your formula find the location is 5.5. Okay, so you need to find the fifth data and sixth data, add together, divided by 2. Okay, so if you, in previous example, if you find that's fifth data, then it will be all right. You just try to find the fifth one, and that will be the answer right away. But sometimes it's a bit more difficult than that. Okay, you need to find the middle 2 data rather than the middle data, right? The 2 middle data actually. Okay, so how about the mode? So if you see our data, so the most frequent data would be 3. Okay. Which in this case should be 3. Okay, and the range is always maximum take away minimum. Okay, when you look back, the maximum here should be 8, minimum should be 2. Okay. Okay, so that's basically all the questions we have covered. All right. Okay. So you just need to be a bit careful about the definition of each kind of measure. All right. So for your homework or your practice, please try to do. Let's see. Okay. So that's your handouts. It should be in your OneNote, right? Okay. So we've done some of the questions here, and please try to do practice 1. Okay, so the let me see. Okay. Okay, so you will see there are 4 questions. Okay, please try to do them as your practice. Okay, you might need to spend at least half an hour on practice. Okay, that's for your understanding. All right. Okay, so after you finish your practice, please take photos and send the photos in and put those photos into your homework folder in the OneNote. All right. Okay, so thanks for your attending the video lesson. I really appreciate that. All right, see you next time. Bye.